Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotir gamaya, mrityurma amritam gamaya.
Namaste. So last time we talked about asat and sat, and we introduced these Venn diagrams showing the relationship between the three phases of each. For asat, it's maya, avidya, and asat. And for sat, it's Brāhmaṇan, vidya, and sat. So these three factors combine in each to create a complete reality. But in the asat reality, everything is temporary, conditional, reactive, changeable, impermanent, which means it is effectively death, non-existence. Because maya means that which appears to be real, but actually doesn't even exist. That's the nature of maya, the nature of the material creation. Now we find ourselves in this material creation, and in ignorance, asat, we are identified with the body, the mind, and the various sense objects. And thus we come to regard ourselves as being part of that. But this is not the case. In reality, once we have knowledge, vidya, we know that we are separate from this body. And the proof is that we perceive the body. The perceiver and the perceived, the conscious self and the object of consciousness have to be different. So if we perceive the body, the mind, the senses, their objects, and so on, that means we are necessarily different from them. So we are not only different in the sense of another thing like that, we are actually another thing unlike that, because we are sat, we are eternal, Brāhmaṇan, consciousness. Consciousness cannot be perceived either on oneself or in another, because consciousness is the absolute, the perceiver in all bodies. So the self cannot be perceived, but it perceives everything. Like Yajnavalkya, sage Yajnavalkya will say later on in this Upanishad, how can the knower be known? It's not possible. That by which everything is known cannot be known. That is Brāhmaṇan. Brāhmaṇan is unknowable by nature. Brāhmaṇan is sat. The world is asat. So let's go back to Śaṅkarācārya's commentary and see how we can read this understanding into his explanation. These are the yajas mantras in question. From evil lead me to good. From darkness lead me to light. From death lead me to immortality. The meaning of the mantras is hidden, so the Brahmana itself explains them. When the mantra says, from evil lead me to good, what is the meaning? Evil means death. That is, our natural actions and thoughts. Evil because they degrade us very much. And good, that is, actions and thoughts as they are regulated by the scriptures, means immortality, because they lead to it. Therefore, the meaning is, from evil actions and ignorance, lead me to actions and thoughts that are regulated by the scriptures. That is, help me to identify myself with those things that lead to divinity. The import of the sentence is being stated. So it says, make me immortal, Similarly, when it says, "From darkness lead me to light," darkness means death. All ignorance, being of the nature of a veil, is darkness, and it again is death, being the cause of it. And light means immortality, the opposite of the above, one's divine nature. Knowledge, being luminous, is called light, and it again is immortality, being of an imperishable nature. So it says, "From death lead me to immortality," or "make me immortal," as before. That is, help me to realize the divine status of viraj. The first mantra means, help me to identify myself with the means of realization instead of with things that are not such. While the second one means, help me to go beyond that even, for it is a form of ignorance, and attain identity with the result. The third mantra, "From death lead me to immortality," gives the combined meaning of the first two and is quite clear. In this, the meaning does not seem to be hidden as in the first two. That is, it should be taken literally. So, ignorance is not a thing. It is instead a covering of our real knowledge, a covering of the light. In other words, darkness. Tamaso ma jyotir gamaya. Tamas means dark. It also means ignorance. See, that's the nature of the Sanskrit language. The implications of something are defined as the meaning of the same word. So the darkness of ignorance is lifted only when the veil of covering the real knowledge is removed. How is it removed? By vidya, scriptural knowledge. Now, although scriptural knowledge is verbal, symbolic, semantic, and therefore only metaphorical, nevertheless, if we follow its instructions, the veil is removed as if by magic. That's because the scriptural knowledge points us towards our real self, our real identity, and not some artificial construction like our social identity, physical identity, political identity, religious identity, and so on. These are all temporary, mistaken, false identities. When these are removed by practice of meditation, neti, not this, not this. However we want to identify ourselves, we are not that. Because, as I said earlier, if one can perceive it, it is not the self. And if one can conceive it but not perceive it, it is illusion. For example, a country. Show me a country. Well, somebody will point to a map and say, that's not a country. That's just a map, just some lines on a piece of paper. Or if somebody says, well, show me your religion, maybe they point to a church or temple. But that's not the religion, that's just a building where the religion is practiced, perhaps. But that's not the religion itself. Or show me a political philosophy, like capitalism or democracy or whatever. And somebody may point to, a government building, the Capitol or whatever. This is the same nonsense. Those are only buildings dedicated to some purpose related to this government. The government, the religion, these are abstractions. They're only words, like a corporation. There is no such thing in reality as a corporation. It is a dream, it is a thought, it is a verbal construction only. And once we realize this, all these veils pass away from our eyes, and we see reality as it is in the present moment, without judgment, without assigning meaning to things, because these meanings, like I am a member of this political party, I am a citizen of this state, I am a member of this religion, and so on, are all simply dreams, svapna, dreams and thoughts that pass through the mind and disappear like clouds. They cover our real knowledge. What is our real knowledge? Aham brahmasmi. I am Brahman. Shivoham, Shivoham. I am Shiva. I am that life principle that animates everything. I am the Virat, the presence of life, the vital force in the universe, throughout the universe, in all creatures, in all living bodies. And indeed, I am the soul of everything. This is our real identity, and this can be realized. How? By following vidya, by following the instructions in the scriptures, because these point us to the process, the sadhana, that will bring us out of asat and into sat, out of tamasa and into jyoti, out of death and into our natural immortality. Aum Tat Sat. Aum Shakti Aum. Aum Namah Shivaya.